If you're even slightly overweight, which is 25 to 30 on that BMI scale.
So people hate this, by the way.
I know they do.
Like the amount of times we ever talk about BMI at all, we get blasted. BMI is outdated. You don't know what you're talking about. This guy doesn't know what he's talking about. He's talking about BMI.
Why do you think that is?
Well, you're pointing the finger at people, aren't you? And it's people don't like it.
And they don't like it.
Yeah, they don't like it. And especially when it's a lot more normalized, I would say, even in America. But it's 100% getting that way here.
Yeah.
It is, yeah. I had a lady
say... For a long time it's been like that.
She did the quiz. So she did our calorie quiz, and it gives you your weight, and it gives you your calories and protein and tells you where you are on the BMI scale. And it come back and said, you are obese. And she was like, I've just taken your calorie quiz. It's wrong. I'm not obese. I'm just a little bit chubby. And, you know, I had a conversation with her to explain, like, hey, like, this wasn't like opinion. You know, this is facts. Like, that is the case. If that's your height and weight, like, you will be obese. You are obese. Yeah. Which I just think is bizarre.
But it's important to know, because there needs to be some kind of objective measure for you to be able to do research.
Absolutely.
And people don't like the labels, but okay, so we can just say, right, fine, your BMI is 35. It doesn't matter what we label it. You are categorically at more risk if you fit into that label.
This is actually quite a good talking point to go around. So I'm going to go back to BMI is an absolutely perfect measure for the average people. For average people, it is perfect for that.
I can already but I'm not the average person, Calum. Not me. I mean, this is what people say. Like, I'm not average. I'm more muscular than.
Okay, so I want to talk about that. So let's go through this, right? So if you're overweight on the BMI, which is 25 to 30, you will lose 1 to 2 years of your life. Mm-hmm. That's what's shown, and it's shown in big data. Like the meta-analysis in the Lancet that showed this had 900,000 participants. Right, it was huge, so we know it, right? Then if you're obese, that's 30 to 35, just normal obesity, that was conferring a life years lost of 3 to 6 years, actually 3 to 6.5 years. Mm-hmm. And this has been repeatedly shown in 4 meta-analysis that I've read. I posted up the other day. And then if you're morbidly obese, it's 10 years life lost. Yeah. Now, there's something called the obesity paradox. Now, the obesity paradox basically says, if you've got more muscle mass than fat mass and you're overweight, not obese, but overweight, this confers a protection to diseases that you might get later on in life. Mm-hmm. It confers that protection because you've got more body mass. So someone like you, Jaymie, who's I think you're about 26 on your BMI, aren't you?
Yeah, right? Like I think 26.1.
Yeah, 26.1. But you're absolutely more muscle mass. Mm-hmm. So I don't think you've got anything to worry about.
But I did remember bringing this up with you because I've even said, as I maybe get into like my late 40s or 50s, I probably would look to lose weight. I keep the muscle on, but maybe look to lose weight. And there's a couple of things, and again, this is just anecdotally. Obviously, you don't really see anyone who's morbidly obese over 70, or I haven't seen anyone it's not like a regular thing that you see in 70-year-olds. And you do typically hear the little old lady, the little old man. It's not. You don't really typically see morbidly obese people who are in that age, but you also don't see tall people. And I'm 6'3", so my only sort of conclusion around it was just like, is that because I'm ingesting more calories, I have to take in more oxygen, air pollution, like whatever it is, but you typically don't see tall old people, or I haven't, if anyone else has.
I did check into that. So, but basically the obesity. So with tall people, it's actually the research. I really did look at it. The research is very imbalanced. Okay. You do see some studies that do show that tall people have a increased overall mortality, but you also see a lot of studies that show that they don't. Mm. And it could be things like increased cardiac output because you've got more muscle mass, you're taller. It could be things like that affect it, which is what we're going to talk about. Yeah. So I think the obesity paradox does have merit, and if you've got more muscle mass and you're slightly overweight, you shouldn't worry. However, if you've got more...
How would people measure that? So I'm like, I might actually even be, maybe I can put my details in. I'm 6'3", 210. But I'm like slightly overweight, slightly over like healthy weight. I'll let you guys answer this. Where would you, in terms of muscularity, what would you say I am? Like just a little bit muscular, moderately, very muscular, like...
I think you are.
Okay, so if you say I'm very muscular and I'm only just over 25,
you'll be okay.
If you as a woman or someone's listening and you would say, oh, I've got a bit of muscle, or I've got like, would you say you're extremely muscular? And if you are just over 25, or are you seeing like 28, 29?
We can see it in, so the next point I was going to make is going to answer that question for you. The next point is, the first thing you'd measure is by getting your body fat analysis done and doing doing DEXA. I don't like DEXA just because it's exposed you to unnecessary radiation. I know some people say that is not harmful, but I think the less double strand breaks that you can get in your DNA, the better, because that's what radiation does. You could do the bod pod. You can do bioimpedance as long as you do bioimpedance the same day, the same time.
What's bioimpedance? Sorry.
The scales,
the electric scales,
right,
yeah. So they'll tell you. So it just works on conduction of electricity through the body.
26.2.
Yeah.
No.
So anyway, so that's how you'd measure that, and then you'd also do hip to waist ratio, or just even waist. Now, we've got data in bodybuilders as well. So bodybuilders take super physiological doses of anabolic hormones to create this massive amount of muscle mass. And we know that they have an increased cardiac workload, they'll have hypertension. These issues will cause cardiovascular diseases, they'll cause liver, kidney damage. I'm really sorry, but it does. I know, like, just like the BMI, I'm going to offend a load of bodybuilders, but if you've got a massive amount of muscle mass, it's causing you health issues, and you're choosing to look good over the benefits of look good over longevity, because you're gonna get you can see it, and you can see this even in just normal life. When you see a bodybuilder like Ronnie Coleman or whoever, they've got issues. You're going to have heart valve replacements, all sorts.
Like Arnold Schwarzenegger, I think, he's had a new heart, multiple different heart
valves. So he's lots of different heart valves. So the thing is if you've got too much muscle mass, like what the bodybuilders do, yes, it starts to become a problem. But if you're a little bit over in the BMI, which is not normally average for people. This is,
and also you have to work pretty hard to get that.
Yeah,
like absolutely. Without those steroids, and as a woman, to be that level of muscular, it's pretty hard.
But I can just picture like what people are saying already, or just know it. Like, oh well, I've got genetically big legs, or I've got bigger legs than typical.
Yeah, but so have I, and my BMI is like 22.
Yeah.
Like.
Yeah, no, of course. And I think, but that's the thing, isn't it? Is like people want to like willfully ignore something like BMI and say it's outdated and be a 27, 28, 29 and say, well, I do go to the gym 3 times a week and I do lift weights and I am fit. That's like, that's all great.
But BMI is still relevant to you.
Yeah.
Science doesn't care
It's
about...
just one element though, isn't it? It's like your BMI is one measure we could use for risk, but if your BMI is high but you are active, you don't drink, you don't smoke, your cholesterol's in check, like all these other things, you're still in a better place than someone whose BMI is low, but they've got those things.
Yeah, in actual fact, if you're active, you've got good activity levels, you're slightly overweight, you're going to be in a better position than someone that's slightly overweight and that is not active, right? So them lifestyle modifications. One of my biggest gripes in the industry at the moment is that people will take a supplement or medication and not change anything out of their lives. That's what they'll think will confer the risk reduction for, even if you take just a statin, right, to lower the cholesterol that is associated with the risk of dementia, right? Even if you do that, we know that a lot of people in the hospitals have normal amounts of cholesterol that have taken statins that are still having heart attacks. We see that. We've got huge amounts of data for that. So why is that? Because you have to get the basics right, which is what BodySmart do so well, right? So what you need to do is you need to establish a good pattern of activity, and you need to eat well enough to be able to maintain a good body weight, as in your BMI.